going to learn ecological adaptations. The chapter number, unit name is ecological adaptation. This is the fifth unit and most important also because, so am I audible? I hope that this is audible and it is also streaming in YouTube. Those your students, you got these links, you can watch in YouTube also. Otherwise, you can follow now only. Okay. So now we are going to learn about ecological adaptations. In these lessons, you will be able to learn what are the adaptations. So you can understand the adaptations and you know the about the advantages of these adaptations for these animals in relations with the ecosystem, and you can understand the what are the differentiation and different adaptations for like aquatic adaptations, terrestrial adaptations, and violent adaptations like that. And you can appreciate the animals with the different adaptations, how they can survive with the help of these adaptations. You can follow that. And you can know about the different examples of different adaptations, and you can understand the differently adapted animals living together in the same habitat. In whenever the animals living in the same habitat, so how the adaptations are there, and whenever habitat is changed, the environment or location is changed, how they are adapted, how they are surviving in their new locations. You can understand that, and you can understand that all animals, including man, has some adaptive features to suit their environment habitat. For example, you know that whenever the animals are living in desert area, and there are some modifications, structural modifications, it may be morphological modifications are there according to their environment, like a desert. Whenever few aquatic animals are there, so based on their needs, they can what is that survive and they can adapt it to that environment. So different types of adaptations are there. Now we can learn that. So whenever we observe these organisms, they can interact with the various environmental factors, be it the what it may be abiotic components or biotic components. There come what is that comes a time when adaptations begins to form, and for their better survival, it is necessary. The adaptations are mandatory. So any physiological, behavioral, or morphological attribute of an organisms that enables it to survive and reproduce in its respective habitat, it is called as adaptations. Adaptations nothing but any form. It may be physiological or behavior or morphological attributes, any form, okay, of organisms that enables to survive in better way, and at the same time for reproduction system also for reproduce in its respective habitat. It is called as adaptations. These adaptations are very important for each and every organisms. Otherwise, the rate of survival or continuing its progeny become diminished. It may be reduced. So many animals and plants have these adaptations in place. Not only animals, plants also have their level of adaptations for their surviving. And this shows their success rate in adapting to the changing dynamics of the environmental conditions. During the course of the evolutionary timeline of these organisms, some important adaptations have become genetically also fixed. So these adaptations are most basic and self-sustainable features that are present in every organisms to suit their respective environment or habitat in a ecosystem. It is because of these features, these animals are surviving and performing all their life activities without any difficulties or hindrance. So this is the one of the important thing. However, each and every organism has its own special selections of environment or habitat based on which it develops its adaptive features, as birds are able to fly with special adaptations. At the same time, snakes, you take snakes. Snakes has lost their appendages for burrowing habitat. And rodents have developed well-developed claws for digging burrows. At the same time, desert animals possess special adaptations for retaining water in their body. Some birds are able to suck nectar from the flowers. Fishes and other aquatic animals have developed fins and pedals to swim in water. And cartilaginous fishes have retained urea in their bloods. These all are some few adaptations. It is necessary for their surviving. For example, you take birds, they have to fly. For their flying nature, for that, the bones are filled with what is that? Air. So it's called as pneumatic bones. Instead of bone marrow, in birds, air is present. Air-filled bones are present. These type of bones are called as pneumatic bones. So it is helps in what is that? Flying. At the same place, you take snakes. Snakes also they lost appendages. It is even though they are moving very fast and burrowing habitat. And rodents have developed class. These all are. And take one more thing, fishes. Otherwise, other aquatic animals also developed fins. So these organisms face a sorry. These organisms face a succession of environmental challenges as they grow and show adaptive plasticity as traits develop in response to the imposed conditions. This gives them resilience to varying environments. At the same time, these adaptations is primarily a process rather than physical form or part of the body. So it may be whenever we observe this evolution process, due to these adaptations, they are developed and from each organisms and another, it may be phylums or other another organisms are developed. So whenever we observe evolution process, so it's not a what is that physical or body part. It's a process. The adaptations are a process. Whenever we observe in evolution context, it's a preliminarily it's a process. You remember that. And adaptations is one of the two main processes that explain the observed in diversity of species, such as the different species of Darwin's finches. And adaptations is not always a simple matter, where the ideal phenotype evolves for a given external environment. And organisms must be viable at all stages of its development and at all stages of its evolution. Adaptations is not always a simple matter where the ideal phenotype evolves for a given external environment. An organism must be viable at all stages of its development and at all stages of its evolution. Structural adaptations are physical features of an organism, such as shape, body covering, and some internal organizations, etc. And behavioral adaptations are inherited systems of behavior, whether inherited in detail in instincts or as neurophysiological capacity of learning, etc. The best examples searching for the food, mating, or vocalization, etc. We can observe in other animals. And physiological adaptations, it permits the organisms to perform special functions such as making venom, secreting slime, and phototropism, and mucus secretions, etc. So, but also involve more general functions such as growth and development, temperature regulation, ionic balance, and other aspects of homeostasis. Adaptations aspects all what is that? Adaptations affects all aspects of the life of an organism. So these adaptations is the evolutionary process whereby the organisms becomes better able to live in its habitat or what is it? These adaptations is the state of being adapted, the degree to which an organism is able to live and reproduce in a given set of habitat and and an adaptive trait is an aspect of the developmental pattern of the organisms which enables or enhance the probability of the organisms surviving and reproducing. So these organisms that are adapted to their environment are able to secure food, water, and nutrients. They can obtain air, warmth, and spaces. They cope with physical conditions such as temperature, light, and heat, and they defend themselves from their natural enemies also due to these adaptations. For examples, we can observe that chameleon and other organisms, they can change their body color based on their environment or what is that their the surroundings. So whenever the color is changed, so the predators they can't identify them. So thus they can escape from them. So thus they can easily survive and they can defend themselves from their natural enemies, and they can reproduce and rear up offsprings and respond to change around them. So these adaptations occur in response to change in the environment, lifestyle, or relationship to other organisms. Environmental dynamicity, voluntary or compelled shifting of habitat, and human activities may be put organisms in a new niche, or in environmental stresses also some factors like they may be involved. In such circumstances, the organisms require characteristics suitable to the new situations. Organisms that are not suitably adapted to their environment will either have to move out of the habitat or die out. The term die out in the context of these adaptations means that the death rate over the entire population of the species exceed the birth rate for a long enough period for the species to disappear. So whenever the adaptations occur, they can survive easily. Those animals or organisms not adapted to this environment or new environment, new situations, definitely they are going to perish. They are dying. While adaptations provide for the individual purpose of the organism's survival, reproduction, development, maintenance, these same characteristics provide diversity and add to human fascinations with enjoyment of nature. There is a great difference between adaptations and acclimation or acclimatizations. These both are different. So the process of developing adaptations occurs over many generations. It is a population phenomenon involving genetic and is generally a slow process. It is a slow process. The adaptation is, whenever we observe, it's a slow process. But instead of that, this acclimatation or acclimatization, on the other hand, so generally occurs within a single lifetime or instantly and deals with issues that are less threatening. For example, if a human being were to move to a higher altitude, respiration and physical exertion will become a problem. However, after spending a period of time under the high altitude conditions, one may acclimatize to reduce pressure. The person's physiology may be functionally normal. It may be sometimes it may be changed at that time, at particular time, at the what is that altitude times. Whenever they are come to outside from that area, so again their physiological and whatever it is, the changes are become as normal. So it is a temporary. But whenever these adaptations we observe, it is slowly occur, it is slow process, and genetically it is involving, and it may be continued throughout the life or throughout the generations also. But acclimatization is a temporary process. You remember that, and it is involved immediately also. So types of adaptations. What are the types? So they are maybe structural, physiological, or behavioral. The structural adaptations are special body parts of an organisms that help it to survive in its natural habitat. For example, a skin color, shape, body covering, etc. Whenever we observe different organisms in different areas, for example, you take desert animals. they have thick body covering layer. So it's prevent the loss of water. So it is the one of the example. So whenever comes to the physiological adaptations, these are systems present in an organisms that allow it to perform certain biochemical reactions. For example, you take some snakes and other animals, they can make the venom. At the same time, they secrete venom, otherwise slime, and being able to keep a constant body temperature also. If you take human beings, we are maintaining constant body temperature. It's one of the physiological adaptations. If you take another organisms like poikilotherms, so based on their environment, the body temperature also say changed. For example, fishes, it may be amphibians, few reptiles. So they are called as poikilotherms. These poikilotherms, they can change the body temperature based on the environment. So whenever the environment is become as very cool, their body temperature also become as cool, very cool. So based on environment. If it is hot, the temperature is high. Their poikilotherms organisms body temperature also high. But instead of that, these human beings, the eurythermal organisms, they can maintain the constant body temperature. For example, so you take birds and mammals especially. So these mammals nothing but all cow, dog, whatever it is. These all are belongs to human beings also, including human beings. They are belongs to mammals. We are maintain constant body temperature. If it is very cool, or very cold area is there, for example, like Himalayas, whatever it is, our body temperature is normal. We are maintained normal only. If it is very high also, internal body temperature is very normal temperature is there. It is not changed. That is urethra, poikilotherms and different organisms are there. You can remember that. So this is the one of the adaptations for eurythermal organisms. And behavior, third one, behavioral adaptations. These behavioral adaptations are special ways a particular organism behaves to survive in its natural habitat. For example, if you take few organisms, they are becoming very active at night time. It's called as nocturnal animals. So you take cockroach. It's very active at night time, and they can eat and they can capture the food, whatever it is. At the same time, taking a certain posture also. So these are the some behavioral adaptations. So these are the three types of adaptations: structural, physiological, and behavioral. So based on that habitat for each organisms, they can develop adaptations. These adaptations can be categorized into three fundamental types, namely aquatic, terrestrial, and volant. Volant means flying. And each of which can be further divided into many subtypes. For example, if you take aquatic animals or aquatic adaptation. Okay, so based on this habitat, these adaptations we can categorize it into three types: aquatic adaptations, terrestrial adaptations, and volant. Volant means flying, especially for birds. Okay, first one is aquatic adaptations. Now we are going to learn about aquatic adaptations. These aquatic adaptations are found in those plants and animals that live in water habitats. For example, maybe fresh water, brackish water, seawater. That is the it's same. Okay, maybe different areas. These all are together forming aquatic system. So, for example, if you take freshwater organisms, they can develop features to prevent the entry of excess water or a process to drain excess water regularly. For example, fresh water. If you take freshwater organisms, they prevent the entry of excess water into the body. So, on the contrary, marine organisms face scarcity of water due to the hypertonic. Hypertonic means the salt concentration is higher than the body fluids. Okay, so the salt concentration higher in that of the body fluids. What is that? In seawater. So that's why whenever the body concentration is in body fluids, low concentration, low salt concentration is there, and in seawater, high concentration is there. So it sometimes they can the move through this diffusion, it may be moved from higher concentration to lower concentration. So otherwise, if it is high in our body, otherwise in freshwater aquatic organisms body, if it is high concentration is there, if it is in water aquatic environment, low concentration is there. So as usually the fluids, otherwise molecules, they can move from higher concentration to lower concentration. So in this case, what happened? So this in both situations, the organisms are what is that they face difficulties. For example, if body fluids have higher concentration in seawater, otherwise in aquatic surroundings, they have low salt concentration. What happened? They have to move from higher to lower. In that case, they can lose the all what is that water from their body. So thus they are going to die. Otherwise, if it is surroundings have high body concentration and their body have low fluid concentration, thus they what is that uninterruptedly they can move from higher concentration to in what is that what is that lower concentration. Thus the outer environmental aquatic systems or water, whatever it is, this water directly they are enter into the these bodies. It may be harmful to the organisms also sometimes. So thus to avoid this both situation, they have to maintain some adaptations. Thus they can prevent these situations, they can maintain the constant what is that surviving natures. It is the important thing. So they have mechanisms to retain water and excrete the excess salts that enter in water intake. So these aquatic plants may be emergent rooted plants also is there. For example, reeds and submerged rooted plants like hydrilla and planktons like diatoms, or floating plants like what is that water hyacinth plants are there. So different plants are they can maintain. Similarly, aquatic animals may be benthic. Benthic mean they can live in what is that bottom of the water or land. It occurring at the bottom of the water body. Or pelagic. It's pelagic nothing but occurring in the water body itself. And maybe the animals may live partially or permanently in water. Thus, they may range from the non-specialized to very specialized water dwellers. Like different areas, it may be due to these adaptations. In aquatic regions also, they can live in different regions. So you can understand. So especially whenever we observe structural modifications in aquatic animals, what is that? Fins are there. Fins they can help in what is that? Swimming. So primarily these aquatic animals, especially for fishes, show not a single terrestrial features, whereas a secondarily aquatic animals like whales and dolphins possess terrestrial respiration through the lungs, and some must visit land for laying eggs. Like for example, you take turtles. These turtles, they can live in aquatic what is that regions, but for laying eggs purpose they can come out and they can visit the land, terrestrial region for some time, partially. So, partially water-dwelling animals demonstrate the amphibious adaptations. Amphibious, nothing but both. Okay, it may be aquatic and terrestrial. So, double features both for the land and water. For example, frogs and salamanders. Frogs also they can live in water. At the same time, they can also live on terrestrial regions. So, at the same time, salamanders also. So, mostly terrestrial features and only some basic adaptations are present in duck. So, duck also they can live in what is that aquatic regions. So the some characteristic aquatic adaptations are, for example, body counter shape. A body counter is spindle shaped and streamlined. If you observe, you can observe in fishes especially. For this, the head is elongated into rostrum or similar structure, and neck is very short, And external ears like pinna, these are external ears also present in aquatic animals, like it is called as pinna. It is reduced and his tail is laterally or dorsoventrally compressed. So these few are we can observe. At the same time, usually marine animals are excessively large. For example, best example is whale. And because of the buoyancy of the salt water, and these organisms of locomotion and balancing, so vary greatly among the aquatic animals. Fishes used, they can use paired fins. Maybe unpaired fins also is present. You know that whenever we observe fins, pectoral fins and pelvic fins, these are the paired fins are present. So along that, dorsal fin, abdominal fin, and anal fins are there. These are the unpaired fins also is present. These all are located on the fish body, otherwise some few aquatic animals body. And whales and turtles have their limbs. They are modified into what is that paddles. We can observe that like paddle-like structures are there. In some others, hands, other feet are webbed also. Webbed feet is there. For example, we can observe in amphibians, frogs especially. Between the finger, few what is that layer is there. So that is called as webbed fingers. May be present on hands or feet, whatever it is. At the same time, skin also modified in this due to aquatic adaptations. The skin of the most aquatic forms is rich in mucus glands. It make it slippery. You can take frogs also, the best example. In frogs, what happened? In frogs' body, whenever we observe, the glands are there, mucus glands. They secrete the mucus. So whenever we touch that, it is very slimery. So they can move easily there. We can slip the they can slip that. So it is a one of the best example. So not only that, other in other organisms also, these mucus secreting glands also is present. And at the same time, fishes, they are equipped with the what is that dermal scales. We can observe that what is that fishes scales are there. In Telugu we call as పులుసులు అంటే చేప పులుసులు అనేవి ఉంటాయి కదా. So that is called as scales. Fishes are equipped with scales, and these few aquatic forms organisms, they have mucous glands. And at the same time, what is that these not mucus gland. What happened? These secreting glands. It may be hair is absent on the skin in aquatic animals. Hair is completely absent. At the same time, yeah, this is sweat glands and oil glands also absent. These oil glands, sweat glands, at the same time, hair. These all are absent on aquatic animals. So you can observe that. Instead of that, they have mucus glands and scales also is present. So in compensation, they have a fatty layer below the skin. So it's known as blubber, this bubbler or blubber. So besides insulating the body, it also helps in floating. So these are the few skin related modifications. The first one is it may be absent. Hair is absent. Skin glands like oil glands and sweat glands are absent. You remember that. And instead of that, the compensation is there. Compensatory modifications are there. So that are it may be this the skin below layer, the fatty layer below the skin. It is formed below the skin. The fatty layer is formed. And at the same time, this fat layer it insulating the body. At the same time, it helps in floating also. And mucus glands also is there. Mucus glands, and this skin is covered with scales. You remember that in aquatic animals. The best example, fishes. So the primarily these aquatic animals are capable of utilizing the dissolved oxygen in the water for respiration through the general body surface, otherwise internal or external gills, and so other etc. Whatever it is. However, secondarily, aquatic forms respire atmospheric air through the lungs or nostrils are located at the apex of the head. For example, you take lung fishes. These lungfishes, they can respire. They can use air also. So atmospheric air, they can respire through the atmospheric air through the lungs. Okay. In case of you can amphibians also, frogs. Frogs also they can respire through the lungs. Okay. So at the same time, they can utilize the dissolved oxygen. Oxygen is also present in water in dissolved condition. That is called as dissolved oxygen. They can utilize it that through the body surface. Otherwise, some internal or external cells, gills also is there. So especially through the diffusion process, they can utilize this. And in fish, a hollow outgrowth of the alimentary canal is called as air bladder. It functions as an organ of floating accessory respiratory organ as it is filled with air. So in both functions are there. It also helps in floating at the same time. It also act as respiratory organs. Okay, in fishes. So this air bladder is very important for respiration purpose and floating purpose. And in whales and other mammals, extraordinarily massive lungs and closable nostrils service this purpose for respiration purpose. And fishes have lateral line system. This is extending the whole length of the body. It contains neuromaster organs which act as rheoreceptors. Like rheoreceptors, nothing but they can detect the pressure, pressure changes, how much is pressure is present in that area. They can detect that. These called as rheoreceptors. So these all are aquatic adaptations. Now we are going to learn about these terrestrial adaptations. This terrestrial, nothing but land, whatever it is, this common land, it is called as terrestrial region. Okay, these terrestrial adaptations are exhibited by plants and animals living in land habits. This land area called as terrestrial region. As there are varied types of land habitats, the adaptation shown by these animals also maybe diverse types are there, different types are there. So the first one, it's subtypes are there in terrestrial adaptations. The first one is fossorial adaptations. These adaptations occurs in the animals leading a subterranean mode of life. So they are equipped with digging organs and they dig for food, for protection, otherwise for shelter. Geologically, they tend to primitive and defenseless. So the adaptational features are the body count is cylindrical, spindle shaped, and fusiform. Like for example, the best examples are earthworm and moles and other organisms also is there. So as to reduce resistance in subterranean passages. So the fusiform body shape is there. In these organisms, the head is small and tapers anteriorly to form a burrowing snout. Neck and pinna are reduced to avoid obstructions in quick movement through the holes. And some organisms, the tail is very shorted, otherwise no tail is present. The eyes are remain small, otherwise functionless, because they are living inside of the holes. They can dig the area and inside they can live. So in that case, total dark region is there. So that's why. So eyes are there is no function for eyes. Okay, so that's why it's maybe small, otherwise functionless. They become as what is the functionless. And these organisms, these limbs are very short and strong, and a paws are broad and stout with long claws, and some extra structures are there for digging purpose. And so these are the few examples, the modifications. Okay, so next, after fossorial, cursorial adaptations also is there. First one is fossorial adaptations. The second one is cursorial adaptations. So this is adaptation involving running and is required by the few organisms living in the grassland habitats, since the sorry lack of hiding places means fast running is an important means of protection from the enemies. So, for example, whenever in grass area, whenever the organisms living in grass area, grassland habitats, so they can't, what is that, hide the predators or enemies. So instead of they are unable to hide and they are unable to protect themselves. So that's why for escaping from these predators, otherwise enemies, they have to adapt it to fast running. This type of adaptation it is called as cursorial adaptation. Examples are horses, zebras, deers. So these all are. So you take a deer and zebra, horse, whatever it is, the lions, tigers, these all are maybe attacked on these organisms for feeding purpose. So whenever these enemies like lions, tigers, they are attacked, so they can, to prevent them to escaping purpose, they are run very speedily. So these modifications we can observe in deer, zebras, or horses, etc. So a few modifications we can observe. What are that? The neck is reduced and the body is streamlined, and this will reduce the air resistance while they are running. And the bones are what is that? Palms. The bones of palms like carpals and metacarpals. And in case of soul, like tarsus and metatarsus become compact and are often fused to form a cannon bone. So these all are carpals and metacarpals. Carpals or metacarpals, nothing but these in hands. Whenever we take this, these are the phalanges. These fingers, the bones are called as phalanges. These are the carpals and metacarpals. These carpals and metacarpals fused. Okay, same like bones in feet also. They are present. So that is called as what is that? Tarsus and metatarsus. In case of legs, it is called as tarsus and metatarsus. In case of hands, carpals and metacarpals. These carpals and metacarpals, otherwise tarsus and metatarsus, is fused together and become as a strong bone like cannon bone. So the forearm bones like ulna and shank bones like fibula, they are reduced. So this is the femur, what is it? Radius and ulna. These bones are present in forearm. Okay. So it may be reduced. In case of like tibia, fibula is there, they are reduced. And digital segment of the both limbs and such as radius, tibia, and canal bones are elongated to increase the length of the stride. So one bone is reduced and one bone is very become as strong. And movement of these limbs is restricted to a forehand or forehand plants. So these are the few adaptations of this cursorial adaptation and arboreal adaptations. Okay. Third one is arboreal adaptations. This is also known as sensorial adaptation and is found in animals that live in trees or climb on rocks, otherwise walls. These features enabling them to be beast. What is it? Sorry. These features enabling them to best suited in the habitat. Like for example, this chest, girdles, ribs, and limbs are strong and stout and feet and hands become as prehensile. Prehensile, nothing but they are turned like that. Okay, and catching with the opposable digits, primates like marsupials also like that. Sometimes the digits are grouped as 3 digits or 2 digits in the syndactyl condition. For example, we can see in chameleon syndactyl condition is there. It's facilitating cleansing and some have elongated claws like squirrel. And while other were rounded what is it? Adhesive pads at the tip of the digits. For example, tree frog hyla, and we can observe in few lizards also. In at the end of these digits, some other adhesive pads are there. They can what is that? Helps in additions. Addition nothing but they are attached. Okay, this adhesive pads also is present. So often the tile becomes prehensile as well. For example, in chameleon and monkeys, the tile is turned like this. Its tail is long and it is turned themselves. This is called as prehensile structure. So these are the few cursorial adaptations. And next, desert adaptations. It is also very important. These desert adaptations are uh, for the mode of life in extreme terrestrial habitat, like deserts. The desert plants, these desert plants called as xerophytes. These xerophytes, otherwise animals, these animals called as xeroseals. Okay, zero, Xero. Zero means it is related to a desert. Okay, so xerophytes, phyta mean plants. So these xerophytes, nothing but those plants live in desert area. They are called as xerophytes. And what are the animals living in this desert area? They are called as xerocells. They show adaptations for different challenges like getting moisture, conserving moisture, and defending oneself from the biotic and abiotic factors. And many of these adaptations are just physiological. It may be behavioral also is there. So the best examples, different plants and animals, they adopt different mechanisms to produce enough water. The sand lizards and some toads, they have hygroscopic skin to observe the moisture, like the bloating paper, even from unsaturated air. They observe the moisture from the air. This type of hygroscopic skin is present in these animals. The kangaroo rat, they can fulfill its water needs from the metabolic synthesis, and others satisfy their water needs through the food they are consumed. Also. At the same time, desert animals prevent water loss from their body by reducing surfacing area. The body surface is reduced. Thus, they can prevent the loss of water, and they can making the skin impermeable through its thickening and hardening. What is it? Body wall, as well as through the presence of scales and spines, thus reducing the number of sweat glands in mammals. They can avoiding this day heat by seeking the shadows of rocks and becoming active at night, nocturnal, and excreting waste as a solid dry pellets, not with water. So whenever they excreting pellets, we observe it's very dry, completely like rock-like structures are there. So completely water is observed, reabsorbed into the body. These are the few adaptations we can observe in deserts. So along that, some desert animals, they can store water in their body and use it economically. And for example, you take camel. So this camel stores water in the tissues all over the body, whereas the desert lizard, Uromastyx, for example, stores in the large intestine. So because of sand and dust in the air, the ears, eyes, and nostrils are protected by valves, otherwise scales, and fringes, eyelids, by being reducing in size also. Some these also some adaptations, structural adaptations, and few organisms like lepers and foxes and others have large pinna to function as a efficient heat radiators without having a loss of moisture. So they can pinna is it's somewhat larger in these organisms, and the coloration also, and coloration and body color changed and behaviors. They allow animals to harmonize with the desert surroundings. For example, sand colored and rough skinned uh, Rhinosoma on detecting sorry, threads, they can dig the sand to obligate the body counter and the harmonize in the background, and possession of venom. Venom is also is there. For example, or in some snakes, poisonous snakes, okay, desert snakes and spiders, they can have what is it, poisonous glands, and they can develop that, and they can use for their surviving purpose, otherwise protective purpose. And other also is there some protective adaptations. And these protections from the enemies, predators, and even Mistakes is achieved by the use of protective devices and mechanisms such as slippery surfaces, horns, spines, and unpleasant smells like shrew and poison, hard shells, autotomy. Autotomy, nothing but, self-cutting, self-amputation of tail. We can observe, for example, in normally we can observe in house lizards, wall lizards. Self-amputation, they can remove themselves. They can amputate themselves, their body part, and it is one of the mechanism for protective or surviving purpose. Or by the use of coloration together with the behavioral postures. And colorations are used for different purposes also. And cryptic coloration or camouflage, it is simply called as camouflage, is it's for making the animals invisible or indistinct from the environment by assimilating with the background or by breaking up the body counter. So those animals, they can, the predators, they can't identify these organisms whenever their background, they are invisible. Okay, so the color is changed like backgrounds. Thus they are hiding from them. Thus they can protect themselves. These animals living in snowy conditions may be white, or forest animals may be striped or spotted. Desert animals may be sandy colored, just because the sand is there. So sandy colored. So other like that, the camouflage is there. So the best example is chameleon. So the chameleon has several layers and varieties of what is it? Chromatoreceptors. These chromatoreceptors that enables to change its colors according to the color of the surroundings. So due to these chromatophores glands, the color is changed, especially in chameleon. So resemblance coloration together with the morphological features and behavioral postures make the animals resembles exactly the particular uninteresting objects of the environment. Thus, what is the deriving the protections? Some of the examples are, stick insects and leaf insects and others, whatever it is. And wearing coloration is meant to avoid the mistakes encounter of dangerous animals in general, or encounter of unpalatable organisms by predators. The animals wear this coloration to advertise their being dangerous or unpalatable conditions. Most poisonous snakes possess warning colorations, and bees, wasps, warns others of their stings. And mimicry also is there. Mimicry is defining that it's defined as the imitation of one organisms by another for the purpose of concealment or protection or other advantages. They can follow them. They can behave like other organisms. That is called as mimicry. The species that imitates is called as mimic, and the one which is copied as model. And depending on the purposes of mimicry, it can be protective or aggressive, maybe. This protective mimicry is a protective simulation by a harmless species in the form of appearance or color, behavior of other species that is unpalatable or dangerous. For example, certain harmless flies with a pair of wings may mimic four-winged bees or bats that are well-known dangerous insects, thus deriving protections. This is a what is it? Bayesian mimicry. If two species have same warning coloration and mutually advertise their dangerous or unpalatable situations, so as to make predators learn to avoid both of them, then it is called as Mullerian mimicry. Bayesian mimicry and Mullerian mimicry both are there. And this is the protective mimicry. Next, aggressive mimicry is there one more type. This aggressive mimicry is used by predators, and here a predator mimics the organisms favored by its prey so as to trap the latter. For example, African lizards resembles a flower Whenever a spider may resemble the flower of a orchids, whatever it is. They resemble like flower, whatever it is. Whenever reach that, they can attack on them and they can kill. So, and third one, last one is violent adaptations. These violent adaptations refers to adaptations in those having a flying mode or life. Like for example, you take birds and included these modifications that help organisms sustain and propel their body in the air. Maybe for passive gliding or for a active or true flight or flying. So the passive gliding, nothing but these types of movements involve no propulsions other than the initial force of jumping and gravitational force. It is characterized by leaping or jumping from a higher point and being held up by some sustaining organs to glide to lower levels. For example, you take what is that? The skin on the either side of the body become expanded and stretched between fore and hind limbs to form what is called as patagium. Yeah, between the fingers, it is skin. It is called as patagium. So it form webbed fingers, whatever it is. These patagia are sustaining organs in many animals, including the flying squirrel and flying lemur. In the flying lizards, Draco, it is called as Draco, the patagia are supported by fifth by sixth elongated ribs. The flying frog, Rhacoporus, it possesses very large webbed feet for sustaining purpose, and its digits terminate in adhesive pad to ensure what is it, clinging on the landing surfaces. And flying fish, exocetus. The pectoral fins are enlarged to form a gliding surface. The ventral lobe of this caudal fin it is elongated to make dashes on the water surface to push the animals for the gliding flight. This fish makes this flight around 200 to 300 meters to escape from the enemies, otherwise large fishes. So other flying fishes are like Dactyloplutus, Pantodon, and Pegasus also have a similar structure. So this Draco and Dracoporus and bats also they have patagium like structures and active true flight purpose. Active what is it, adaptations? Passive and active. Active nothing but like wings. Active true flight is a aerial flight with both sustaining and propulsions. It is found among living forms like especially birds, insects, and bats. So being widely different groups, it is held that their their flight developed independently and show many different features. So insect wings are made up of cuticle strengthened by thickening. It is called as veins. Typically, there are two pairs of wings developed on dorsolateral sides of the mesometathoracic segments, especially in Diptera. Only meso and thoracic wings are developed. And bat wings are modified forelimbs. Actually, bats are they are belongs to the mammals, not birds. Okay, so these bat wings are modified forelimbs. The humerus is well developed, and the radius is long and curved, while the ulna is vestigial. The pollex nothing but thumb region. It is free and clawed for flying. What is it? Crawling and climbing. The petals are supported by the elongated second, third, and fourth digits. And birds' wings are also modified for forelimbs, modification of forelimbs, but with reduced digits. They represent the most specialized wing among the modern wings, and the feathers of flight are borne on the arm and hand, it's forming well expanded wings. And sternum in birds, especially sternum, breastbones is well developed for the attachment of the flight muscles. In bird, it is keeled. Keel nothing but small like structure is there. Especially strong flight muscles are present. Body is made light, especially in birds due to the presence of pneumatic bones. and reduction of internal organs like oviduct of the right side, and urinary bladder, they all are reduced or not present. In presence of air sacs in the body and presence of light feathers, they covering the body. These are the few adaptations of these birds. Okay, so this is students. Thus, these adaptations are three types: aquatic adaptations and terrestrial adaptations and volunteer what is that, aerial adaptations are there. So if you have any doubts, students, you can watch more videos in our Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University channel. Otherwise, you can visit the university and you can get clarification for more doubts, and you can visit our library also. Okay, students, take care. Bye.